Good evening. Thanks a lot for staying with us here at CNN News 18. You're watching the Super Saturday debate. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. Nearly a month after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau levelled allegations of a potential link between Indian government agents and the death of extremist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, diplomatic tensions between both the countries continue to increase with the withdrawal of 41 diplomats by Canada. Now you have the USA and the United Kingdom that have also stepped in. And they have said it took Canada's allegations very seriously. UK and the US have also appealed to India not to push Canada for reducing its diplomatic presence in the national capital and have expressed their concern over the pullout of 41 diplomats by Ottawa. Both have cited the Vienna Convention. Australia too has chipped in, saying they had no reason to dispute Canada's claims. India has hit back strongly, setting the record straight, clearly clarifying that no international law has been broken. But the moot question still remains. Canada first levelled these allegations against India on the 18th of September. From then till now, Canada has failed to put out any credible evidence against India. So can Canada still continue to play the victim?
The Indian government is making it unbelievably difficult for life as usual to continue for millions of people in India and in Canada. And they're doing it by contravening a very basic principle of diplomacy.
Now, before we bring in our guests, we just want to put this entire story in context. We want to first begin with a timeline of events of when these allegations were first made by Canada and what have we heard from Canada so far. And then we want to bring you the statements of the US, the UK and the stand that India has taken as well. So let's begin with the 18th of September. It was for the first time when the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in fact accused India's involvement as far as extremist Hardeep Singh Nijjar's murder was concerned. On the 19th of September, you had India very strongly dismissing Justin Trudeau's claims as absurd. What is also interesting is from the 18th of September till now, there has been no credible evidence that in fact has been put forth by Canada. On the 19th of September, you also had both the countries expelling each other's diplomats. But from then to now, these tensions between both the countries have in fact only increased. On the 20th of September, you had India urging the citizens in Canada to exercise caution as well. On the 22nd of the same month, you had India suspending issuing of new visas. Those services in fact were put on hold. On the 3rd of this month, you had India telling Canada to repatriate 41 diplomats by the mid of October, and this in fact has now resulted in the UK and the US also stepping in. Canada then withdrew 41 diplomats from India, and you have the UK, the US and Canada now saying that this is flouting of the Vienna Convention. As we pointed out, Canada has now accused India of violating the Vienna Convention, and in fact you have the UK and the US stepping in as well. Let's also now break down the responses that we've seen that have come in from the United Kingdom and the USA and what they have said and why they are particularly quote-unquote so concerned. Let's break down those details as well. Charge 1 is that resolving differences requires diplomats and diplomacy. Charge 2 is they've gone on to urge India not to reduce the Canadian diplomats. They've also gone on to say we expect India to follow the Vienna Convention. Remember, India has strongly set the record straight that there has been no breaking or flouting of any international law. The other charge that is coming from both US and UK is that diplomats' presence is a must in both capitals, and they in fact are concerned with the reducing number. India must cooperate as far as the investigation is concerned is also the word that we've heard from the United Kingdom as well as the USA. But interestingly, since both the countries and even Canada has mentioned the Vienna Convention, we thought it would be interesting to take a look at what does the Vienna Convention exactly say and whether any flouting of rules or any breaking of international law has really happened. So let's break down in detail in terms of what really is the Vienna Convention and why are we seeing it being mentioned. Now, this puts forth the framework for global diplomats' interactions. What the Vienna Convention also says that it aims to develop friendly relations among countries as well as among nations. The Vienna Convention further also says that the convention leaves in hands of states the decision to agree. The Vienna Convention also says the parties to a treaty are free to decide or to modify the treaty. The treaty can be amended by agreement of all parties as far as this treaty is concerned. The Vienna Convention was in fact a treaty that was signed by 61 countries in 1961. Let's now take this conversation to our guests who have taken out the time to join us. We have Edward P. Joseph, Senior Fellow in SAIS Foreign Policy Institute, joining us in fact from Washington, D.C. We also have Dean Baxendale, columnist, joins us from Toronto. We also have Ashok Sajjanar, former Indian diplomat, and we also have retired Major General A.K. Sivach, a defense expert. Gentlemen, good to have all of you with us here on CNN News 18. Edward, I'd like to begin the conversation with you and would like to kickstart things with you. We've seen strong statements that have come in from the United States and the United Kingdom. I want to first begin by understanding it's been over a month. The 18th of September is when the allegations were first leveled by Canada. Till now, no credible evidence or proof has been put forth by any authority in Canada to substantiate these allegations. Despite that, what prompted the United States to go forward with a statement like this?
Well, let's be clear right from the beginning that the United States has very close relations with Canada and very close relations with India and wants to preserve good relations with both countries. So we should state that very clearly. President Biden, in his own meetings, personal meetings with Prime Minister Modi of Canada, as well with Prime Minister Trudeau, shows this and it personifies this. So that's the backdrop here. There's no desire on the part of the United States to escalate or make things worse. But let's face it, there's an issue here, and it really behooves people of goodwill in India and in Canada, in both countries, to start to face up to some realities. The United States would not take this action if it did not have some belief in the allegations from Prime Minister Trudeau that are extremely serious. The United States, again, respecting India and respecting the very close relations that it has, considers the murder, if it were, and state involvement in a murder of a national on Canadian soil to be a very serious matter. And we have the U.S. ambassador to Canada who states that there was a lot of communication between the United States and Canada about this, and that the allegations made by Canada are informed by apparently U.S. intelligence. So it's clear here the U.S. has some basis to believe that what Prime Minister Trudeau is saying has some grounds to it. And
but
that's
Edward, I'm glad that you said that United States respects its relations not just with Canada but with India as well. But just taking on from what you said, these are only allegations at this point, and this is something that is baffling a lot of us here in India. Since the 18th of September till now, Canada has failed to put out any credible evidence of proof. So then why would you have the other countries stepping in and say that there has been flouting of international law? I'll come back to you. I want to bring Dean also in the conversation. Now, Dean, that really is the question. It was almost for the first time that you had seen a leader, a public leader, a prime minister come out in the open and make such grave public allegations without any credible proof. Just a day or two ago, you in fact had the Canadian foreign minister also question exactly that from the 18th of September till now, what is the kind of proof that Canada has been able to put forth? And the foreign minister had no answers. So what gives Canada today the moral high ground to still continue, keep pushing forward these allegations?
Well, thank you very much for having me on again today. Listen, this is a very, very complex issue at this particular juncture in time. I think that the Canadian government, through both diplomatic and intelligence channels, had reached out very specifically about these allegations and specifically about the intelligence that they had on this particular murder going back to July and August, and those discussions did take place. The fact that Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of our country, decided to bring it forward in the House of Commons when no action seemed to be taken, or certainly not being taken seriously by the Canadian government, has led to this significant diplomatic row. We must realize that all of us are allies together, and we need to work together to find a resolution to this matter that does not further aggravate the two parties, and that we work closer together to achieve our mutual aims and goals and geopolitically. And this is not being done right now. We have serious concerns here in Canada that the Modi government is using this as a political, to score political points inside India, as did Justin Trudeau attempt to do so on the other side, which I wrote about in the Sunday Guardian.
Yeah, that's exactly the point that I wanted to get to. Till now, as I pointed out a short while ago, it's been difficult for us to understand what really prompted Justin Trudeau and the administration to come forward and make these serious allegations. So I have two concerns that I want to understand before I bring in the other guests. One, as you said, is it now almost amply clear that these are just domestic political compulsions that have led the Justin Trudeau government to make the allegations of these sorts? That's one. The other is, if you go back in time, and if I understand this correctly, there has been a lot of back and forth communication before this episode between India and Canada, where a lot of intel and intelligence, in fact, has been discussed and disclosed as well. If Canada had so much intel and intelligence of possible India's involvement as far as any extremist elements was concerned, why was none of this flagged off much earlier in time, rather than to come out and make these public allegations without any credible proof?
Once again, I think these discussions took place in Delhi and in Ottawa between diplomats well before the Prime Minister went public with this. Also, I would suggest that there is very few people that I have spoken with on the subject that are former, involved with policing, etc., that believe that there is not some, truth and credibility to the allegations that the Prime Minister was making. And further to that, we should understand that the Prime Minister, we have an ongoing RCMP investigation that involves multiple agencies inside Canada about the murder, and certainly he's not going to bring that forward publicly to, again, embarrass the Indian government at this point.
Okay. I want to bring in Ashok Sajjanar also in the conversation. Ashok Sajjanar, how do you see the responses that have come in from the United Kingdom and the USA, both saying, quote unquote, we're very concerned with what's happening. This withdrawal of diplomats should have not happened. This is a flouting of Vienna Convention. India, in fact, has set the record straight. But how do you see these reactions?
Yes, thank you very much, Ridhima, for having me. Before I respond to your question, let me respond to, what Mr. Dean Baxendale has said, that Canada did not wish to embarrass the Indian government. I think there could not have been a bigger embarrassment than for the Prime Minister of a friendly country to rise up in the parliament and accuse another country without any evidence in his possession. And, you have been saying, Ridhima, that it's from 19th or 18th of September.
Yeah.
Actually, it is 18th of June that the investigations have been going on.
True.
And till date, there has not been a charge sheet filed. There has been no one arrested. We don't know how the investigations, it's already more than 4 months.
Yeah.
And, as far as the credibility of the allegations, so to say, our External Affairs Minister has very categorically, not on one occasion, but on several occasions, said that if we had received anything specific and relevant, and these are the words that he used,
True.
that if we received anything, we will definitely look at it. So, for any one of the two, whether it is the United States or for the United Kingdom, to say that India should collaborate, should cooperate with Canada, meaning what do you expect us to do?
Yeah.
You have not given us any evidence whatsoever. And also, I think, let's look at it that if there is any intelligence, intelligence in a court of law, all of us are democracies.
True.
All of us know how the legal systems work. it is the job of the law enforcement authorities, investigating authorities to take care of this.
Yeah.
If you have some intelligence, that intelligence is not fit enough even to file a charge sheet,
I
alone to
agree with the
convict
point that you're
someone.
making.
The
Even
last point,
even when the case started,
last point I want to make.
Yeah.
Last point I want to make, Ridhima, is that what we have stated, meaning this is we are entirely
Sure.
on board as far as international law and rules are concerned. What we have said is that the additional number of Canadian diplomats,
Yeah.
they are interfering in the internal affairs of India.
Yeah.
And that's a very serious charge.
Yeah.
That is, something that has not been responded. And the second part,
Yeah.
and that's the final thing,
I agree
that
with
we want
the point
Canada
that Mr.
to
Ashok
take our
Sajanar is making, that
concerns
one,
seriously.
why is Canada not talking about the credible proof and investigation, and also the investigation that is happening on home soil? And I want to bring in General Sivach also here. General Sivach, while these questions still remain in terms of the own domestic investigation that is happening, why is the Canadian soil continuing to be a safe haven as far as extremists are concerned? How do you see the responses that have come from UK and US? And more importantly, do you see this impacting relations between US and India and UK and India at any point?
Aritema, I don't think so. But let me tell you one thing very clearly. As far as Justin Trudeau is concerned, when he has put a so-called credible allegation, he had no credible proof. And so far, the Canada has not able to give us any evidence which can be proved in any court of law. India is always prepared to carry out investigation, cooperate in investigation. But how do you cooperate when there is no evidence?
Yeah.
The question is that we must understand that Justin Trudeau is playing with fire. He is under pressure domestically in his country. His government is a minor government. It has taken a help of basically New Democratic Party, which is headed by Jagmeet Singh, who is a sympathizer as well as a Khalistani activist, and due to which he is speaking what he wants to speak. He has put this allegation without realizing what will be its impact on the relationship between Canada and India. We were trying to finalize the free trade agreement. That has also now gone on the back burner. Now the question comes is that everyone knows that the terrorist activity, Khalistan terrorist activities are going unabated in Canada. And it is not only that, there is a gang war taking place.
Yeah.
What happened to Sattur Singh, who was also killed in a gang war, and Lawrence Bishnoi group has owned it up?
Okay.
What happened to Karima Baluch? The Karima Baluch was killed, and everyone knows the ISI was involved.
Yeah.
Why the Canada was quiet on that? So the point is that Justin Trudeau should understand that pointing a finger at India without a credible proof is not a friendly gesture, and he should have thought 10 times. And after even more than 2 months, he is not able to produce any evidence so far.
Yeah, I
And
think
as
that
far as
continues to be the pain point, that despite a month since these very brazen public allegations were made, in fact, it's Canada that has failed to substantiate these allegations without any evidence.